Hello, hello, and hello. Welcome to the Beth of Fresh Air. It is April 3rd, 2026, and I'm here to talk about naming shit, which is a little bit of a micro subject within a big arc that I'm creating right now. And I was hesitant and hesitating to name it, but I think I'm going to call it the Free Seeing series. Doesn't roll off your tongue. The Free Seeing series. There you go. But it was the right meaning. Sometimes it doesn't have the musical side of things, and yeah, that's always an issue in my world. Naming shit. It's because there's something that happens when you do that, and so we're going to get into that today. Come and say hello in the chat if you are around and you're tuning in to the Beth of Fresh Air. Last week I did an episode called Spot It, and that was with Micah Ellers, who was here at the time. And I would have him on every single time, but there's only so busy you can make people. And I can grab a link to the first one, so if anyone missed it, you'll catch the whole entire arc of it. A little Beth of Fresh Air coming your way. And so here is the first one. It's called Spot It. So we're going from spotting it to naming it. And could be some tracking going along in there. Welcome, Maya. Really nice to see you. Hope you're having a good day there. It's bright and sunny. Not too bad. A little bit hazy. Jackie K's in the house. Welcome. Let me know how it's going in your neck of the woods. Any high strangeness going on? I'm becoming more of an ostrich every day with that stuff. It's funny. It required seeing, I don't know how many social media posts to know they were trying to fake another moon landing or something like that. Like I'm kind of behind on all the BS, let's say. And there's Mr. Micah Ellers. Welcome. Glad to have you here. So if you'd like to see our conversation called Spot It on noticing patterns and the absolutely huge bonus and benefit that is, because it means you don't have to take every situation like it's unique, because it's not. There is, of course, something new about every moment. That's also forever true. But there are patterns. They're noticeable, they're trackable, and they save you a lot of time when you find them, especially if your aim is freedom. I actually, since Mike is here, I was spending some time yesterday asking ChatGPT about what Gurdjieff would say about freedom and about the creator, and all of that. It was really, really nice. I've been listening to, I think I'm halfway through a 1,300 page book. I'm doing it as an audiobook now, chapter 37 or something like that. It's absolutely huge work, like absolutely huge. You certainly cannot fault the reader when he trips on a word here or there or gets confused. It's amazing he can sustain through that. Must have been a Gurdjieff fan or student or something to be able to do that. And then ChatGPT came in handy to do some summary, because it's not exactly the easiest book to get through. And hello, Miss Kristen. Nice to see you. Glad to have you in the chat today. So naming stuff. Yeah, it's I'm not sure how long we'll be on today. It's deep for me. I don't know that there's so much, but please contribute anything that you can. And one of the things I'm going to start talking about, if we're just diving right in, there's yeah, I just got some crazy news that my brother-in-law, who I'm estranged with, his son was found in one of our homeless camps here and not alive anymore. So kind of forgive me if there's a little bit of heaviness in that. It's just they are easily nameless and faceless, right? You see the camps, you see the needles, you see the destruction, you see the garbage, you see that everything, but you don't really see the names and the faces of these people. I was actually just chatting with my sister, who I'm still in contact with, and she, as a nurse, goes to those homeless camps looking for people, looking for patients, trying to follow up on people that she's working with in the community as a community health nurse. And I was mildly horrified that she went down there. At least she takes a buddy And she's got that classically, big heart, open-heartedness towards people who are in trouble. And so hats off to her. Yeah, I know, intense, hey? That's, yep, that's a big one. So, yeah, and it was interesting to take that much more anonymous to me situation and have it be a real person. So, yeah, that's the power in a name, to make something or someone real. You could say that something doesn't even exist until you can name it, or that's something that is put forward as a possibility, or it can exist to a much greater level once it's named. And thanks, you guys, I appreciate that. So yeah, wow, intense. And don't get me started on any of the little nuances in there either. So yeah, it's pretty tragic the way that children get raised and sloughed off. I know I have another friend who's in a similar position. You can't fault them. I mean, there must have been something along the lines, of course, that got them to that place. And it's they literally had to cut their son out of their life. When they moved, the son did not get an address. They don't know where to find them because the guy just tends to show up with friends in a truck and clean out people's houses and go spend the money on meth and everything like that. So pretty crazy when your own child ends up being a danger to you in the process. So hold on to your kids out there. And good day to you, Miss Karaman. Just getting past, I didn't actually expect to share that, but it's just kind of going on right now in this moment. So yeah, it's bringing people out of that anonymity. That's one of the problems with naming. Actually, in a way, it can go both ways. That sometimes naming things, we see this happen in propaganda. Top of mind comes when was it World War I? Help me out with my history here, where they named the Germans Huns. Am I getting this correct, or was that World War II? As part of the, we have, I don't know if I'm going to get a strike for using this word, but now, we have a word for our East Indian population locally, and they got called Jeets. Like that's, I don't call them that, but that's the name for them. And that naming can definitely be a way to dehumanize them and to put them down. Now it's really tricky because immigration is very severely weaponized against us. And, so in a way, you can't blame the people, but that's how they engineer conflict and keep people in those places. And you couldn't have a red and a blue team if you didn't name them the red team and the blue team, and then give words that are like democratic, which seems like a pretty good word, not a terrible word. I know there are technically problems with that, and it's kind of majority rule situation, but democratic means that people have a say, which isn't necessarily a good thing, because you get all the people that are confused and lost and deluded and sick and not of right mind, and they have a say. Well, how's that going to go? So you can kind of trash that word democracy right there. You like the First Nations title? Yeah, that one was tricky because it seemed like every 2 or 3 or 5 years, there was a new word for First Nations that was politically incorrect. So I grew up with Indians. That's what they were called. That's what they called themselves. And then it was First Nations, and then I think it's Indigenous now is the way to say it politically correct, or there might be other ways to say it. It turns out that we're also Indigenous by the strictest definition of that meaning. So those titles really end up just being there for political purposes, for division, for dehumanizing, and making us not see. Like when you say the political party, you're not seeing all the people in the mix there This was really frightening. Now, I'm hoping this was literally AI generated wrong crap going through, but we had an NDP convention. Have you guys seen any of that? The people that were speaking at those, and the little card carrying people who want their privilege turn to speak sooner than others because of their gender or their sexual orientation or something like that. Like, what a bunch of absolute crap that is. And you're out of touch with that. Yeah. So good. Yeah, we'll all be out of touch over here. And yeah, so that's what people are seeing about Canada right now. I think I've lost my any national pride is gone. That was gone a while back. But it's pretty interesting until you name something. You might not be able to perceive its existence. What was the classic example that they used of? Now, this might have been just total bull crap, the way they're telling history and trying to make people into savages and that they don't have a good intellect or something like that. But was it? Oh, you guys again have to help me with the history where they were seeing ships on the horizon. It was like in the, I think, Columbus days or something. I know that that's all really mangled history. And so they're seeing ships on the horizon, but because they don't have a word for that, they can't distinguish that that's what that is. And something along those lines. I didn't research that part at all. But naming is something that comes really quick. Notice how when people have a baby, there are some rebels out there that delay the naming of the baby, but most parents are into naming their child before they're even out of the womb. I know I definitely did a big search, a very unsatisfying search for my son's name. And I couldn't find anything that was landing for me, in terms of like, I need to like it. Obviously, I'm going to be saying it a lot, and that seemed to be part of. And it was actually, it wasn't until Liam was born and his dad popped up with the name Liam. And it was like, oh, that sounds nice. It just right away on a musical level resonated with me. I looked up the meaning, which was fascinating. So I ended up giving Liam a Sanskrit second name. I wouldn't do that now if I was having him now, but that's his legal name. And so the name, his full name, Liam Akash, means protector. That's what Liam means, of the sky space. And I was reflecting the other day as I was putting this together, just how perfectly he is named. There's something, from a young age, long before he could be a protector, he was acting like one. And if we got into any kind of weird, sketchy place, like walking home from or walking to the car from a wedding downtown in this crazy place we live in, and then he's just jumping up and he's puffing up. If he had feathers, they'd all be big. And he's like, "Don't worry, if anybody comes our way, I'm just gonna smash and kill them." He would say like this. And it was so heartwarming, actually, because I would never expect an 11-year-old to protect me, of course. But there was something like, wow, that's a beautiful quality that he's got going there. And as an adult is definitely demonstrating that. I have to say, in that trip that we just made and the sketchy times that we had, he showed up like crazy, taking care of the situation. And there was one time at a weird hotel, and this drunk is trying to kind of muscle in. I don't know if he was wanting anything. I don't even know if he saw us. He was so out of it, but just Liam just immediately positioned his body. So that was me behind him, and that drunk was in front, and it's like, wow. So, did we bring those qualities out in him by naming him, or do we just tune into qualities that were already there and named him? And be careful how you name some some things, and even animals. Thank you, Elisa. I appreciate that. It's yeah, not my loss, but my sister's partner's loss. So and welcome to, thank you, JJ. Welcome to the chat here. I'm very glad to have you. And didn't say hello to Augustino. Augustino. 16J or I6J or something. The gender privilege convention seemed surreal. Yeah, unbelievable that is like an adult uh, forum. That's not for children and teenagers and people trying to find themselves. And like that was nuts. And they were really young. So in a way, it did seem like a teen convention. And yeah, they're putting a lot of hope in that party. Yeah, whatever. And Jackie K must be a rebel too. Good for you. So yeah, glad to have you guys here. And then so the child's ability to name starts really soon, and it's between 6 and 9 months old, where they can recognize a name. So I'll tell another story about Liam, which was so cute. I had the thought that maybe I was going to teach him sign language because that was kind of popular going around. They were getting their babies to go to the bathroom on the toilet, and they were teaching them sign language, which long before words can come, they can make signs. And I saw that was true. I never did get Liam to use the toilet. We were diapers all the way. But I know it's possible. And I know, congrats to Scott and Leora out there, Scott and Leora Perry, who just had her baby. And she said that her baby's already using the toilet. It's like, wow, mama, amazing. Not that the baby knows that. It's the mama. The mama's that tuned in. I thought I'd be tuned in, but nope, I was not. And then so I was sitting there and I was feeding Liam, and he was probably in his first year, yeah, maybe around 6 months or something like that. And I wanted to teach him the sign for more. It's like this more, right? And so I said it many times. Does Liam want more? Does Liam want more? And then he said to me, more. He used the signs and he said more, right? So he could right away recognize. Now that's not a name per se, but more is the name for the idea that he wants to keep eating. And so that was so fun. The sign language was out the door at that point when he just simply came up with the word unexpectedly. I thought that was really sweet and fun. Yeah. Interesting. I'll just interrupt that. Kariman is talking about mercy and karma. Mercy is one of my favorite prayers these days. Thanks to Micah, Lord have mercy on us. That's a beautiful one. And yeah, the karma, it's fascinating, right? Is there certain karma coming to a lifetime and having done wrongs and needing to pay the price? This I think I caught from my chat about Gurdjieff yesterday, and that there is the suffering that comes from a lack of consciousness, and then there's the suffering that comes from what you actually choose. And you effectively cause your own suffering, not as a form of martyrdom, but making your life difficult, giving yourself work to do that maybe you would just rather not do work. We would always rather not do work. I'd rather not exercise. I'd rather not anything. And then that idea of karma that yeah, like when you put bad stuff. I don't know if you're still around, Micah, and you want to chime in here, but when you put bad stuff into the world and then it just things happen to you. I had a moment of weakness in a garden where I had a neighbor's cantaloupe patch, and she had the most beautiful cantaloupes, and I watched them every day. I was like hungry for those cantaloupes, and I hadn't grown my own yet, and I still didn't know about vitamin A toxicity. And I literally every day I'm at the garden lusting for her cantaloupes. Well, finally she's not picking them, and she's not picking them, and she's not picking them. And the bugs are starting to get in there, and I can see they're beyond ripe. So what did I do? I just grabbed one. And it was like pretty amazing and delicious. And then I think it was like the very next day, my favorite ever coat got stolen out of my car. And I just felt like it was, one for the other. Instant karma was enacted, even though I'm pretty sure it was fine to eat that. And then someone was telling me, if food is rotting in a garden, you must take it. It's your obligation. It's not stealing. Anyway, that's my confession for the day. And so, yeah, karma, is it? I'm curious to hear more about that. And suffering is definitely part of our realm, you might say. So, yeah, 6 to 9 months, infants are actually able to recognize labels for people and things, and then 12 months are usually they're actually using words to name things. 15 months, toddlers tend to point things out and ask for their names. They want to know the name of every little thing. They catch on to the game of it, that everything has a name. And then by 18 months, that's typically where the naming explosion or spurt takes place. Um, so this is, yeah, Elisa said, let's see. You do think if a person steals, they will be stolen from. Haha. Love the cantaloupe story. Yeah, there you go. It's funny how many things I lusted after. I really, like, just so terribly lusted for foods that were toxic, and that's part of them being poisonous and addictive as a result. I don't have the same lust after foods anymore. Almost like, even I was starving in the store yesterday, and I think, well, we did break down and have some chicken fingers in that place. I needed some charcoal after that, but yeah, much less food lust. I would literally be freaking out by the time the spring rolled around, and we'd be getting new foods, and I'm like, what? So, yep. I was looking into, have you guys ever heard of the phrase language is a virus? Just going back to, like, what is a name is, of course, our language. Every single word that we have is signifying either some function in language or some idea, some concept, something, someone. That's all the words are coming from it, and it's from William S. Burroughs, who introduced the idea in 1962 from a novel, The Ticket That Exploded, and another essay, The Electronic Revolution. And that was this was just a seed planted by a friend a long time ago. And the phrase "language is a virus" comes up in my mind. And Burroughs was saying it's actually a parasitic organism that invades the nervous system, acting as a, get this word, virus from outer space that forces humans to speak and limits their ability to achieve inner silence. So this is kind of interesting, because where um, your mind is always going to try to name your world and your outer experience, and then if you're quiet, it's probably going to be busy naming the inner experiences at the same time, right? That there's most of us know that when you're quiet, you see how loud your thinking is. There can be a lot, and it can go on indefinitely, and there can be little to no space between them. Some people might even think that if they're not thinking, they're not alive, or that, must be something wrong with you. And I mean, there are other ways to stop thinking. That's by shutting your system down, by shutting your brain off, by becoming very toxic. But this was just an interesting thing that I always wanted to explore a little bit. And then, yeah, so even that word virus in Latin actually means poison. So you guys probably know that by now. Was language, um, is it a poison, and was it inflicted on humanity? Gurdjieff talks about I believe it's called Kunda buffer. And this is something that we talked about in the last House of Free Will snippet with Micah. And this is something that was installed in our human brains. I'm going to talk about this quite a bit, actually, in this upcoming week's retreat, Creator Code retreat, at the very end, for those of you that are, the few of you are here that are in that course. And this Kunda buffer that was weaponized and gave us like a complete inability to perceive God, or perceive the creator, the divine, however you want to say it. Oh, and Kairamon, you're familiar with Kunda buffers. You thought about that. The astral organ limits the experience of humanity. Exactly. Yeah. I keep forgetting that it was an organ, like a transplant, or like an implant, I guess is a better word for that. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. And then it was removed, but it's like we didn't notice that it was removed. So even though it's easier to perceive the creator than it would have been, then it, according to this, then it's still we're still under the spell of that. I was trying to explain this to my son yesterday because I'm preparing this class, this retreat, and you'd rather believe that. And so I'm explaining it to my son, and you can see it's just like in one ear and out the other, and he's probably not even letting it go in one ear. He's not really connecting with it. And there have been times where he's talked about, some spiritual awakening, which is good. I don't try to encourage that, but I thought, okay, maybe if that's there, I can talk to him about this. But it was just, woof. And as I'm speaking it, if I talk to my students about it, or even if I talk to you guys about it, I'm in a place where I think people can hear me more, and they might even be interested. And where there's not that receptivity, which I don't blame my son for, then it's like I'm talking gobbledygook, like I'm making no sense, and it's really not connective, and it's not helping him to connect. It's just some like ideas and words and names for ideas. And Micah chimed in here. He said it keeps us from seeing reality as it is and being unaware of the death of ourselves and everyone around us. Okay, so am I actually misnaming that? Then it's not about the ability to see or notice or connect with God. Then, or maybe that's part of it. That seems to be part of it, but that might be a different function altogether. But thank you for chiming in there. So yeah, then Laurie Anderson was one of my favorite singers. I still will play some of her music. She's an artist. They wouldn't even call her a musician. They wouldn't let her be in the music world because she was more of a performance artist. And she had a song called "The Home of the Brave," 1986. I do recommend looking that up. And so she brought that "Language is a Virus" forward from William Burroughs. And she said it's like an infectious, controlling nature of language, suggesting that words aren't just neutral tools, but rather self-replicating entities that hijack human consciousness. So that's just what Laurie Anderson said about it. That's not necessarily what I believe. And that is part of it. Good to know. Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of the meaning I was making there. And I'm not getting the context of your comment. Maybe I missed something up in the chat there, but you've all been there. Often that's what it's like talking. Oh, got it, with my son. Yes, exactly. That's what it's like talking can be. Yeah, more and more he hears me and we're able to connect. But if I go off into my like micro world that literally nobody knows about until I write a book on it. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lisa. I remembered now. Short memory over here. Yeah, so that was interesting. What do you guys think? Is language a virus? Is it weaponized? It's for sure weaponized if it's not an outright virus. You got the whole Tower of Babel thing, right? That's just going deeper into communication and how we ended up making no sense to each other. And yeah, kind of crazy. Carmon said Samuel Onweor called it the tail of Satan. It just manifests as vices, right? With inner purity, it can be conquered. And when you said it called it, which was the it part? If you can remind me, please. These days, legalese, yes, and yes and no. That's a legalese is debatable. You have to come in the House of Free Will and join us in some of the law talks there. That there's way more gobbledygook language in the alternative law. Let's say much more. We're so scared of like legal words and how they change things. And yes, things do change in context and historically and what they were actually originally purposed for. That's true. Things do change. You need context. You need history, especially when it comes to the legal system. But to just say that it's all legalese crap in the law world is not I don't think true. I don't think so anymore. Anyway, I did. Language is tricky. Yep, exactly. And Kind of hypocritical calling words a virus, though. Why do you say that's hypocritical? By using words to call words a virus, we can't get away from it. Neurolinguistic programming. Yeah, I never went deep into NLP, but that is it. Some people have used that to hypnotize masses. I know. Was it Anthony Robbins was big into NLP? And yeah, some people are very critical of NLP as a way to reprogram. That's why I'm always on my soapbox saying we don't actually need to reprogram. This is one place that Gurdjieff and I don't have similar conclusions, and mine might be literally I'm just being very optimistic and childlike in my understanding. But he would say that we basically don't have what we need, and for me that's a flip. I would say that we have everything we need, so there's no need for reprogramming us, but that our we just have so many layers, inauthentic layers on top of us from many levels of our experience, including the hidden realm of programs that are on top of our true authentic nature. And that's not our personality, that's not those qualities, that's not who we think we are, but our actual self, freedom. I was asking ChatGPT if Gurdjieff would think we could go entirely free, and in the end, the answer was more or less no. That it's in theory, in principle, maybe possible, but in Gurdjieff's eyes, it would be more about removing layers of control through the laws that govern over us. So left unchecked, you have your life and your own introspection, your own self-awareness. If you don't do that, if you don't go down that road, then you have the most laws governing you. This was actually really beautiful as a way to name something that I hadn't myself been able to name. And then so that's the results that you can enjoy when you deprogram. You definitely have the experience of being less controllable, if that matters to you. You have less governing laws. Things don't push and pull you the same way. So, because she's naming it with the word exactly, Lisa. Yes, exactly. You used NLP with and hypnosis with clients in a good way. Nice. And I mean, it's a tool, right? So that whatever it's the motive of the practitioner that matters, or the motive of the one that's using it as well that matters. So it's just a tool for self-awareness, as far as I know. And you could recognize it was being used by religious door knockers. Okay, yeah, NLP, right, got it. Yeah, they picked it up. I'm glad I never really learned those tools, but I'm sure I use them anyway because I come from that world of marketing, and that was part of that, even though we didn't name it to be part of that. And yeah, some people feel like words are incredibly important, that you must, what do you call it? Sterilize your language from certain words, like understanding. This one I think is funny that they, a lot of law people just make fun of them. They cleansed their language from the word understanding, and did they, in the process, cleanse the understanding itself? Also, unfortunately, baby and the bathwater is possible, and then we just look like morons when we talk. And sorry if I'm insulting anybody who doesn't like the word understanding, but I'm going to keep it. I like it. It's good. And yeah, and we can do well upon others and manifest a better world. Indeed, a saint and a master Satanists might use the same words from the same language and do totally opposite actions. Exactly. Well, that's one of my really big points, Caramon. Exactly. That they they take the words, they steal the words, they took good words that did have good meanings, and then turned it inside out, upside down, inverted it, perverted it. And this is becomes very unfortunate. It doesn't give people half a chance to actually No, because, innocently growing up, you're developmentally wired to name things, to want to name things, to want to know the names of things. And then they do a flippening, as Micah calls it, or I picked up that word anyway. And so you got the word and you think that's the thing. I remember this was my biggest wake up was when Obama was being elected into office in the US. And through his whole inauguration, I remember like bawling like a baby, crying because I thought it was so hopeful that the world had finally awakened enough to have a black president and that this was a sign of some kind of thing. And then he was saying all these good words. He was just saying them. And it was my first realization of how they say the words, they name the thing, and then that's all, right? So it's just a veneer. It's just thin veneer. There's no substance. They may actually mean the exact opposite when they're twisting those words. And you know how another example, the word unity became so completely bastardized in the pandemic. We don't say that word much anymore, but it was like unify. We need to get together and be a group and unify and be the same is what unify means as well. And all it really meant was conflict. That was the net result of it, that people came up against each other, one group that had one name. They all had really interesting names with something like 4 in it, which was fascinating. I don't know if all the 4 groups were that, but I am so out of the loop right now. I don't even know exactly what's going on. But yeah, unity created conflict. That's what I noticed, and I think very much by design. Thank you, Elisa. Yes, inner stand makes people sound fake and gay. It just does. Yes, it does. It makes you sound like an idiot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that, but it's yeah. Let's just use the words. And you've used the term though because you want to sound fake and gay. Very good. I love that. Yeah, they use the word change a lot. It's a go-to kind of thing, right? How many words? The resilience was one. Let's do a little count of all the words. Resilience, that was weaponized pre-pandemic. You could hear that one a lot. They pushed that word, and resilience is great. It means that you are, not going to die because you missed breakfast, or you can handle a little conflict in a relationship and you don't go running, sucking your thumb the other direction, or you can work hard and make your muscles create resistance against your bones, and that's a sign of resilience, that you can withstand the discomfort of growing your bones, which I'm currently doing again. And then what it just means is like, let's put up with all this major abuse from the powers that ought not be. That's what resilience really meant. So one of those very weaponized words, the normal thing, the new normal crap name for that time. Yeah. So beware of false prophets who come to know you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. Yep, you will know them by their fruits. Indeed. Indeed. This was something I was going to talk about in terms of naming, and I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. Maybe I'll read this first. That, oh my God, yes, when one silly comedian actor with the bent nose was like considered so groundbreaking for being into the unifying conversations. Who was that? You're trying not to name them, aren't you? I don't know who that is. I do not know. And only deeds matter. Most of them have no deeds, just empty speech. Exactly. Yeah, it's motive and action, right? That the motive for the action, the same action can be the same, but have entirely different results because of different matter or different motives. And then, that's the actions speak, and the results, even beyond the action, the results of those actions are going to tell the truth about that. So let me know if you guys have any more words that were ruined, names of things that were ruined. And so if you go to the Bible, which I'd like your guys' opinion on. In Genesis 2:19-20, it was God formed the animals. So God created the animals. I think you guys get that part, and brought them to Adam to see what he would name them. So Adam was the namer, the primary namer, and so that man called each living creature that was its name, named the livestock, the birds of the air, every beast of the field. And it's interpreted that this act of naming signified human dominion over creation, a responsibility given by God. What do you guys think? Is that actually, but being able to name something, is it truly having dominion over it, or is that the illusion of it? That if you named it, right? How many people were really upset when they started renaming, what was it, Trafalgar Square or something in Toronto, if I'm getting that correct? I probably mangled that. Anyway, they renamed a very popular, long named place and gave it somebody else's name. Here we had a street that was called Bishop Grandin, and I don't even know Bishop Grandin's exact history, but the woke people did not like that, so they turned it into a name that you can't recognize and means nothing. I mean, it is a native word of some kind, or indigenous name, or a First Nations name, whatever that is a way to say it these days. And I remember hitting it the first time when the sign had been changed, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so lost. What happened? I got a ticket because I was confused, and I'm like, oh, I need to get back somewhere. Then I went over the speed limit. I got a ticket from that stupid name change. And how many tens of thousands of dollars does it cost to do all the PR around that, for them to stay up late thinking of a new name for a stupid street? It's just unbelievable when so is that a way of conquering territory? I think so. I think that's the idea behind it, because what gets named goes into, it goes down in history, right? That is how it's known as. Like, for example, my would be could be a great great uncle. I have to go and really check on the timing of that, but he was a pilot in the one of the world wars, probably two, and he ended up with a lake named after him, up way up north. We were going to go there, but it's like way the heck, probably no roads go there, but it's called Suic Lake, and they named an entire lake after him in his honor for having been a brave pilot in those in that war. So that's kind of interesting. And like, does that make up for the loss of that young man? According to his mother and his brother and everybody, no, not even close. But they do this magnanimous thing. They take a piece of God's earth and give it a name, and then it's supposed to be so meaningful. I do have some pride in that. That's pretty cool. There's a Suic Lake, way the heck up north nobody can go to. So yeah. Yeah, parish equals church sounds like parish equals die. Yeah, yeah, that's kind of never mind synonyms. That's a whole different ball of wax. Exactly, when you got talk about the Tower of Babel creating confusion. So yeah, has it given us dominion, or the illusion of dominion? And that's how dominators operate. They're namers, right? And this is something that I was going to say, that this is the alchemist archetype that we're in the realm of right now. The alchemist is the great namer. They have the ability to take things that don't even really exist in people's mind, and by giving it a name, they can make it a thing. So I've named a couple of archetypes, and one is not, I don't use it much anymore, although people still end up finding it in my archives and reflecting it back to me. I invented the word merpreneur. It's a name, an archetype for, when I was into my whole feminist movement days, and I was supporting women entrepreneurs and helping them to create businesses. And so I invented this merpreneur. It's a hybrid, what do you call that again? what is it when you got a goat and or a fish and a goat? It's like chimera. So I created a little chimera, the mermaidpreneur, and I know it's silly, but it caught on, and people would use that word and reflect it back to me, and I was able to expand on that merpreneur and create some mythology and some narrative around it that was actually true. It wasn't just like a make believe child thing. It was something I found genuinely inside myself. It turned into the 8 archetypes of the hero's journey, and I also invented the word, yes, like a centaur, you got it exactly, chimera. And then I also invented the king hero. I mean, those two words exist, the king and the hero, but as far as I know, no one had ever married those two words and created an archetype and an entity. And, not more than a year or two after creating that, people would play that word back to me. Oh, Beth, I've got a king hero for you. They're a king hero. You should interview this king hero. Oh, and they're a king hero. And this kind of thing. So that was pretty fun just to have. Now, I don't feel like it dominated anything, but I gave a name to something that was a useful concept, especially with regard to the men just like not being around when, and this isn't to criticize them, it was just like, why are all the women standing up and where are the kings, and but that's not to put them down, that's just to make an invitation. Why do they disappear? Because they get called out, they get shit talked, they are completely underappreciated, and they've been damaged in so many ways, and then creating this name, the king hero, was a means for calling and like, you're welcome over here, you're appreciated over here. So you can still see we have the banner of the king hero, which is where Beth of Fresh Air is. I'm always open to interview ideas, but I'm pretty short on them right now, so just going with myself and the Beth of Fresh Air. And yeah, it's like they're trying to balance their karma for having sent people to their death. Yes. Thanks for the reference there, Elisa. Yeah, it definitely is compensating, right? One of the things that Liam and I did on our trip was we went to visit the alligators. So it was what do they call the jungle in Florida? They don't call it jungle there. I never did look this up. It's not really forest, but it looks like jungle. If you've been in a lot of jungle, that looks like jungle to me. And we were in there was a suspension bridge and a really, really tall tower on a very windy day. It was crazy. This tower, as you climbed up it, it was like going like this, and the bridge was one person only. And we got up there, and the whole of the surface, I believe, of the floor of the tower was made up of little pieces of carved, it could have been engraved metal, probably more like metal, and it was the name of probably many soldiers who've died. And we came across roads that each brick had somebody's name on it, memorial roads. And yeah, I think it's exactly what you're saying, Elisa, that it's compensating them for the incredible crime that's taking place. And then somehow when you have your name in a thing, you're immortalized, right? This is another thing that the name is supposed to do, is to stop you from dying. They say there's 2 deaths. Maybe you've heard me say this before. One is when the physical body passes, and the second death is when their name is said for the last time, right? We all want and crave immortality. It's it's an actual it's a right craving, but unfortunately it's been inverted, where we want it at the level of our physicality, of our name, of our legacy, of things we could leave behind. I was listening to Gurdjieff, and he was talking about lineages and how he could pan out and see, oh, this lineage died. It was the end of the lineage. Like, I'm in a place right now where if my son doesn't have children, my lineage dies. It's over, right? And my sister has a bunch of children. She's likely to have a continuing lineage. I might as well. I can always hope and pray for that. But it's fascinating when you think about, like, wow, the Martin's name is going to die on my side unless Liam was to marry and have children and also call them Martins. So that's very challenging, right? Because we don't want to think about our end or the death of us. So if we have a little plaque or we have a thing with our name, then we go into the future. It's not, no, we don't go into the future. So it's amazing we buy that kind of stuff. Hello, Miss Artistier. Nice to see you. Glad to have you here. So we're just talking all of the little nuances of naming stuff, and I'm still waiting to see, like, does maybe I answer my own question. It's just fake and gay. There's no dominion in the namings, but there's something. There is a something. There is a power, and the alchemist can use that power obviously for good things, for the creation of new ideas and concepts, and to be able to, in one word, King Hero, I was able to say, like, support men better. They're suiciding. We need to show up for them. We need to stop criticizing them and saying that things are wrong with them. And so I would say you can say a lot, you can do a lot. I'm not saying that I've had such an enormous impact, but I have had excellent feedback from people, and especially a bunch of very grateful male guests that were treated with respect, and what they say actually matters. So, oh yes, exactly. That was something I was going to talk about as well. The whole diagnosis, that's on my list. Exactly, that people love, not just like, but they love their diagnoses. And we all know that if there's something going on in your, say, in this case, more medically, it's, physically, you got some symptoms, you got some signs, but it's just amorphous, and it's just, moving target, and things come and go, and you have no name for the whole thing. People are very uncomfortable, right? And what does that actually do to them internally is it sets off one of the programs, which is totally entirely ubiquitous throughout the entirety of the uninterrupted life, and even the examined interrupted life, is the drive to figure it out. It gives you the illusion that you are actually controlling something, and that's exactly what people do with their diagnoses. They're desperate to figure out what all the signs in their body means, and or mentally it can go that way as well with people that are into the whole mental health side of medicine, and that weird machine out there. And then when they get a diagnosis, they're so happy. Right, they're just like, oh my goodness, they have a sudden injection of new life just because they got a diagnosis. Why? That means they can suppress that program and let go of, or maybe let go of trying to figure it out. That can happen too, but at least they can let that thing rest, and they don't have to be driven to always understand what is going on with their body. And I know I was there for most of my entire life. Why? Because nothing made sense. It wasn't until Garrett's work came along and introduced the idea of toxic bile paradigm, where, if my eyes are letting out some painful liquid, which they used to do a lot, literally show stopping, I'd have to get out of my vehicle or stop my vehicle on the highway. I would have to get off a bicycle. It would just be like literally nothing could happen until I could wash my eyes. And thank God that didn't happen. No, well, I could have gone to an eye doctor. I could have said, there's something wrong with my eyes. And he would have gone, oh, yes, there's something wrong with my eyes. And he'd do a test, and he'd come up with some diagnosis, and then he'd give me some drops for my eyes, and all treating the named disease of the eyes and stuff. And it was just been a complete waste of time. I'm glad I never, ever did that. I didn't have enough faith in that system. And, I received a really intense, heavy diagnosis. I used that, sadly, I used it to get out of the life that I knew wasn't right for me at the time. So I used that name. It was if I had no name, I couldn't have explained to anybody like my family what I was doing and made any sense. So I made that name, Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 4. I made that name work for me in that respect. I let it be my reason, my excuse for changing my life. And so I was able to make that work for me. Who knows? Like, I mean, not even who knows. Now I know much more that wasn't a Hodgkin's lymphoma. That was advanced toxicity in my lymphatic system. Advanced. Would I have, in the absence of a diagnosis, been able to get a handle on it? Probably not. Back in those days, it was still going to be many, many, many years before I came across the truth of anything. And I was already into the dangers of natural health by those days. But this name, Hodgkin's lymphoma, it gave me a ticket. And the ticket was to walk away from a business life that was just bad and wrong for me and stressful and of absolutely zero purpose for the most part. So, yep, they love their diagnosis. They get so happy, and then it relieves them of responsibility because it's a named thing. And that's usually, in fact, what people do when they receive those diagnoses. They just put it on a shelf, and if they're into the medical system, then they have it handled. If they use natural medicine, they're going to use that name to go and search everything that is the protocols for that kind of thing. And as usual, shouting out to Garrett Smith and Toxic Bile Paradigm that really puts an end to all of those named diseases that they become absolutely useless. So he's familiar with all of that as a trained ND, but he says it never is going to change the way that he helps people. It's always going to be the same solutions. So yeah, just used as an excuse. Exactly. Yep, it gives them that reason to not take responsibility, to not have to do the really hard work of tracking and tracing what might be going wrong. So yes, thank you, Carmon. Protocols are for robots, doctors are for robots, or doctors are robots. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. That's the truth of the whole thing. So now, this is something I noticed too. If you guys noticed where you're trying to explain something and you're looking for the name of something and you can't find that name of something, and maybe it's gonna suddenly appear to your mind in the middle of the night. And there's something about when the name appears, it's so satisfying. Like when Liam's name came in, it was just like, wow, something just landed here. Or if you find the right word, which is the name for an idea or something like that, then it's I don't know, it's a beautiful thing. I don't know exactly what that is, but just an observation. Lisa says, I love when he finds where the toxin is the name of the disease. Wait, I love when he finds where the toxin is the name of the disease, and later they name it some random complicated name. Right. Hiding the toxin. Exactly. Hiding the toxin. That's like vitamin D, right? They used to call it rat poison, cholecalciferol. Now they call it a nutrient, necessary supplement for those, especially in our northern climates here. Thank God I've been off that hypercalcemia crap for a long time. Or that causes hypercalcemia, I should say. I have successfully nearly almost all healed my frozen shoulder. It's like a miracle. I could not do that. I could not put my hand up over my head for many, many years. I'm pretty sure it was a hypercalcemia kind of a situation that is finally starting to. Apparently, the deltoid is a good repository of hypercalcemia, which is toxicity, obviously. And so I'm excited. I can move my arms again. Yay! So good. I tried a lot of things to solve that, and they all didn't work, except Love Your Liver. Thank you. Has finally worked. Thank you, Maya. Appreciate that. And then you love when Doc Smith finds the pattern where typing issues. Right. Got it. I get it. Yeah, I got it. I'm reading your mind, going deeper. There's a new thing. Have you guys heard in the Love Your Liver world? It's probably coming out this Tuesday. I probably shouldn't talk about it right now, although if you're in the House of Free Will, we are chatting about it in our private study group there. Cheerleader Beth. Thank you. I'm so fast that topic was already over me, but thank you. I appreciate the hallelujah and the praise be. Exactly. I know it's crazy. I don't know if do you ever put your arm up over your head and then you put your face into your arm and it feels like you're being held in the arms of your creator or something like that. And I couldn't do it on the left side. It's like, oh, sad. So cheerleader. Yeah, that's fun. Then we also can't have a discussion about the we did the gifts and the shadows of the alchemist by naming things and getting to hide things and to obscure things, make sure people don't see them, kind of like they've renamed diseases so many times. Is it I might get in trouble for these, but I won't say them over and over. Like polio became meningitis, so they could say that polio disappeared. No, the word disappeared. It's a word thing, you guys. The name changed, and this is absolutely criminal because people who just half-ass their research are not going to get to the bottom of that. So you can't half-ass the research. You have to full-ass the research and go right down to the end. And that's the interesting part. Like often things are named the same, and you got to know all that stuff. So. And this brings us, the gifts and the shadows of naming also brings us to that which is unnameable, which you cannot describe, you cannot put a label on in any real or satisfying way. And this is often my word for the divine these days, is the unnameable. I have taken lots of hits for calling that God, even though my mind still calls that God. I love Gurdjieff's his endlessness. Isn't that beautiful? His endlessness is so perfect for the unnameable. And many, many more. I think in Sanskrit there was something like 108 names for God, which cannot be named. And is it possible everything can be named, or is it once you get into the fine and subtle realms beyond the five senses, of which there are many more, that we lack for the words? And that's just what it is. More and more, I have experiences that I cannot name, that I don't talk about, that I don't try even anymore to talk about. They just are what they are. And, it doesn't really help people to go and to just keep telling people, oh, I had this fancy experience and that fancy experience, and it was like this, and it's, and then you're basically trying to figure it out by using words and naming something, and it just doesn't even touch it. And not only does it not touch it, it diminishes it. It turns it into some artifact of your own mind, your own intellect, and it can ruin it. Something that was like full and alive in a moment for you, you can ruin by trying to name and describe that. So I do that less. And but yet we want to talk about God. We want to have that conversation. And it's always the elephant in every room, even though 48 laws away. This is a very good and beautiful and big subject. I say freedom, and that's a name for the unnameable. There's no way to characterize freedom. It has no qualities. It's not an archetype. It's not on any of the maps. It has no feelings. It has no particular elements. It doesn't have shadows and gifts. It's completely off the map. And that to me is freedom. Reminds you of the astronauts describing all the cool stuff they saw circling the Earth. Right. Yeah. What the heck was that? What the heck? So, people get obsessed with their own name. And, we have a lot of fear about digital ID that I think is just here anyway. right? Like it's beyond digital ID. It's the biometrics. It's not your name. People still have a lot of screen names when it comes to social media and the internet and that kind of thing. It's fine. You do whatever you do, but if you really want to know people and get to know them and be known, I would personally just use your given names, or at least one of them, so you could be identified. I can't tell you how many times I have in the past been interacting with someone who's under a screen name and I didn't realize I knew them. So it's like kind of embarrassing, but I had no way to do that. And then if you know people on multiple platforms, they might have a different screen name per platform. And it's really, really hard to keep track. I have to go back. I will make myself threads like on Telegram. If I figure out what their name is, I'll make sure it's at the top of the thread so I can re-reference their name for a person who ends up meeting a lot of other people. Exactly. Yep, and that freedom from the programming and the laws governing us. I was thinking about this one in particular. How I'm not sure how this would be talked about in Gurdjieff's work, so forgive me, but the just being at the mercy of all of our emotions. That it's good to name. It's good to see the signature archetypal nature of those feelings. Why? So they could be recognized. So yes, naming helps when when you've got, for example, when you're depressed and you can't name a feeling because you can't feel, but you can know that it's in the category of apathy, the lowest vibration of all the human emotions. Now we've taken it that like low bad, high good. Nope, that's all a mapped experience. That's all programmed because that's exactly how the feelings stay anchored. And then that makes us food for the moon. This is where I would have had Micah enter to talk about moon food. And, all our emotions turn us into food for, could be like Joel Schaefer talks about the critters, the beings, the entities that they're just, every time you get irritated, they're like, yum, 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 yum. Oh, Beth's in traffic dealing with the way too crowded streets and she's getting irritated. Oh, good. Yum, yum, yum. I'm going to go eat off her. And where you become more and more masterful of your emotional realm because you're smart enough, I would say, to look into what is the unconscious element of that, the programs themselves, what we don't want to see or feel, and then you systematically become less and less food for those situations. There's less requirement, as if, to drench everything in emotions. They can just be what they are. And if emotions come up, that's okay, that's fine. And they can be deprogrammed, and greater freedom comes from that process. So, yep, Maya, you know it well. Astronauts. Yeah, there's some, but that is a kind of interesting, just to completely, because I think I'm done with my topic and my notes that I was going to share, but we can just chat for a little bit. And then, what do you think is the motive behind this creation of a new so-called moon landing event? Why did they do that? Have they received so much criticism, so much mockery from people that they just wanted to prove that it's right? There was one guy in Florida and he was filming the thing and you could see the trajectory. So yeah, it went up for a while. And what does it do? Like this, right? And it's going to come down. That's called trajectory. We all know about trajectory. Things go up and they go down in an arc. And, so yeah, I don't know. Yeah, flyers is, I think, one of those words, nibbling at our ankle, aura light, terrifying Toltec thought. It's enough to beckon them to me. Yeah, from Joel. Exactly. Yeah, it's not that, sadly, it's not that terrifying. It's that normal. That is a normal way of being. And those guys are hungry. They need food. And if you got lots of food, if you're every day you're making a ton of emotional food for them, they're going to hang around. It's nothing to be terrified of. It's just a noticing. And sometimes I'll be going through my daily life and those days when everything just goes perfectly, like you go to grab something and it's actually in your hand and you don't knock it over, and you can move quickly but efficiently and precisely, and all of those kind of things. It's really nice. Well, this is not those days. These are the days when you go to grab the water but you actually knock it off your desk, and you go to put your favorite pair of glasses on and the handle breaks off, and you go to answer, you thought you answered a text a few days ago but it didn't send for one reason or another, or those kind of things. And I can feel those flyers hanging around waiting. Oh, is she going to get upset? She's going to get upset. Is that one going to piss her off? Is that going to get her? And having that memory that they might be around causes me to release and lighten up, because it's like, and then it becomes a little gamified, a little like, do I want to be food for that right now, or am I just going to let my shit go? And that seems to be a better answer. Yeah, sounds like I have a mischievous poltergeist. Yeah, it's not that scary. I mean, I faced the demons and the dragons, and Jesus seems to be the demon slayer, so there's nothing wrong can really happen. There's nothing to be scared of. It's we're in the scariest. We're already having our scariest experience. Taking taxes. Shoot, I missed the reference to that, Jackie. And then quietly contented bear, you responded, I'd like to keep the money funnel going, but you have no idea. Yeah. Satan is fake. That's interesting. Yeah, well, there's a named entity that is very, very lightly named in the Bible, barely. And then we had such a big focus culturally. It's like Satan, right? So yeah, when you name something, and then it's real. We could talk about that a long time. Oh yes, exactly. Spending our money for that fake and gay crap. Exactly. Yep, that's how it goes. Got a smiley face from Maya. So yeah, so I think that is pretty much. I don't know if you guys have any other topics you want to throw into under the guise of space travel. I know. Yeah, but why do they do that? I don't know. Like, just pick another planet or something, or start fresh with if you're going to go fake and gay, start fresh, because this just brought to the surface all of the proof that it didn't actually happen. So they had to know that was going to happen. And is it a way to flush people out? Is it a way to take people who think the moon landing is fake and take them a little sideways somehow? I'm just always looking for the angle of that, laughing at us. Yeah, but would they? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's no cost too high for mocking and laughing at people and making them suffer. Yeah. The agenda is fear. Yeah, aliens. I just didn't go down that rabbit hole at all. It seems to have bloop, gone. Bloop, gone. Lewis also said Venus is king of agenda Babylonica. Well, that's a neat word, Babylonica. I like that. You think they just love polluting the sky, right? Right. I know. Yeah, make a mess in our skies. That happens a lot. So, yeah. Well, my dears, what do you have on for the weekend? Anything interesting coming up? I don't find the world interesting anymore. I like walking in the sunshine, so I'm probably going to do a little bit of that this afternoon. I get to see my son. Yay, that's so good. That's the best part of my day, if I get to see him. You think they're trying to create a huge divide? Oh, yes. Right, exactly. That's hard when you've got a lot of support. Like literally every second or third Facebook post right now is refuting the moon thing. And then, so if that becomes top of mind for somebody who's in a family that doesn't want to hear about it, it is totally divisive. You got it. Because you've got so much support on one side, then you're probably going to try to convince others of the same kind of thing. So yeah, good point. Yeah, they can always divide. That strategy never gets old for some reason. And then, yeah, here's a hot topic. You notice I avoid it kind of like the plague, just not go in there. Just because I have had quite a few flat earthers in the world, in my world here, and still some friends and stuff like that. But does there come a point where you realize you just can't know, and it's not worth spending a lot of time and energy fighting about, getting mad about, spending untold amounts of time and energy, and that it's the loosh, right? Like the flyers, they show up for those fights. They love that stuff. Oh, look, somebody's making a 12-page post and everybody's gonna get upset and make angry emojis and stuff like that. So yeah, making us burst our beloved's bubbles. You don't want to tell anyone the truth who thinks the astral real is outside of themselves and their pineal gland, etc. Nice. I like that. Yes, they are all CGI. Exactly. Yep, that's true enough. I mean, there's enough evidence that they needed things to look different than they are. Wasn't it that in space they're not in space, they're in water? I don't think they're in water either, because they've got them like talking and stuff. You can't talk in water. That doesn't work. But and then they always give them the hairdo that goes up, which is so funny because like even in zero gravity, there's no up. Why would things go up? It might go like out in 360 directions, but not up for a hairdo. That was just ridiculous. These people didn't even really think it through, or they did, and they again just wanted to mock humanity and make us even dumber. Something like that. All the harnesses show up in space station. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know how they made them talk when they were like floaty. Well, it was just them being held by guy wires and stuff like that. Yeah. Parabolic flights, like zero-G flights doing the Silicon Valley. They've been doing them for a long time. Right. Right, exactly. Yeah, you can go into simulators. That's supposedly how they train those astronauts. Yes, I think I did. I did know that chemtrails are like chemotherapy. One of the revealing things that Garrett brought forward was that chemtrails have a huge amount of, is it calcium carbonate? Am I getting that right? Maybe Jackie would know. Is it like Tums? Is that what calcium carbonate is? I believe so. And that a huge part of those chemtrails is calcium carbonate. And it is definitely poison to us. That white dust that covers absolutely everything all the time. More obvious in the summer. So yeah, they found a way to give us chemo. Ivermectin is chemotherapy. People don't realize that. Same kind of drugs going on. So, yep. Oh, lithium is the new one coming up. I hear that's coming back in fashion. Yeah, in the chemtrails you're saying actually, but I hear that lithium is coming in fashion for health again. Is this an alternative thing? Because it didn't go away in the other part of the world. Yeah, lithium and barium and aluminum, strontium, but I didn't know about calcium carbonate until Garrett did his stream on calcium. So that was good to know. And that's I think how they can make the sky so milky, because that stuff is exactly milky. You heard the other day, Elisa, that chemotherapy can actually remove or change people's fingerprints. Wow. Oh, I never heard that. It's possible. I somehow doubt it, though. I went through a lot of it, and it didn't. Oh, maybe it did. I mean, maybe I didn't know my fingerprint. How do I know if they changed or not? I finally have been fingerprinted at one of the borders, so I'm on the record. And they want to calcify us. Exactly. Yeah. Fluoride became well known as, say, a calcifier of the pineal gland, but nobody's hip to calcium and dairy and the RDA of calcium, which is way too high and actually based on dairy. So yeah, there's something new. I'll probably end up talking about it next week a little bit. Things to watch out for in the world that make us conductive and magnetic at the same time, so you can guess what that is. Garrett said, don't talk about it because he doesn't want people running to him about it. So if you are in the House of Free Will and you have heard us talking about that, then please don't run to Garrett and not make him say stuff yet, because he's still doing a bunch of research for that. And so I was just going to share a few links. If anybody's interested in being a member of the House of Free Will, I would love to hear from you. I asked for an application so that we can see if we are like-minded or not, and I'll grab that link. We're not identical by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know how you could get like that without being a clone. We don't want any clones. We just want people that value their free will and they want to try the experiment of getting along, and they are deep and they like deep discussions, although not everybody has to like them, just that's what we're doing in there. Weekly snippets these days. We're on our 6th week. We might be doing some more with Micah talking about Gurdjieff's work. That's been fantastic for me, really amazing. Super enjoyed that. We have law discussions that are not alternative law. They're like the real thing, what's actually real, not fake and gay. And so you can apply at this link if you would like to do that in the chat. It's also in the notes below. Once you apply, I will send it a message, or I'll get my assistant to do it with the link to the agreement. So it's a 2-step process. It's not enough. Some people just apply and they think they're in, and then they never realize that they're not in. But it's not like that. Once you sign the agreement and you accept that, then you get access to our private website and our Telegram channel, which is really expanding. There's a huge number of folders now. It's really grown. What are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. My goodness, that's a lot of folders. I used to criticize other people about folders. But yeah, we talk about health and food. There is a dedicated Love Your Liver group there in the House of Free Will, although I've got it on a different place than the regular chat, just so we can have a dedicated discussion there. We talk about books and technology, and symbology is not a very well developed one yet. We talk archetypes. We've got a satsang channel, which is us to share the company of truth, is the term for that. There's a society and culture. There's a law thread where they fight it out, and there's a poetry thread. I made a word love thread recently, and there's a Beth of Fresh Air thread, and then there's a Gurdjieff thread as well, plus a lounge. So if what you want to say doesn't fit in any of those categories, you can still say something. I don't like censoring people. I'll do it once in a while, but almost never. All right. You want me to reopen the community tab? Let's see. Is it not open? I'm sure it's open. Somebody locked it. I wonder how that happened. That was totally by accident. Thank you for bringing my awareness. How do I unlock it? Let me see. Reopen. Okay, done. There you go. Ask and ye shall receive. There you go. Yep, community building. There you go. And one of my Beth of Fresh Airs is there because it was called Connect. Yeah, it's the only close one. That was definitely by accident. So Quietly Content Bear said she would like to see an interview with Jim Lee of Climate Viewer. He has an interesting take on chemtrails. Okay, very good. I'm going to make myself a note about that before I forget, because the chat's a little harder to find after. Jim Lee. I had reached out to somebody about Canadian immigration, and they just turned me down flat. Like, yeah, no, not doing that. So that was interesting. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just not big enough for their purposes. Jim Lee of Climate Viewer. Okay. Yeah, I haven't done too much, but I will look that up. Thank you, my dear. And this is probably an emoji octopus, red waving octopus. Nice. And you highly recommend this platform. Thank you, Lisa, if you're referring to the House of Free Will. Totally appreciate that. Appreciate it. Jim Lee. talks when he has time. He works 9 to 5. A lot of those podcasters have full-time jobs. I feel so lucky. This is my full-time job. Well, not full-time, but it's part of my work. And Ming Hiro Merboss. That's fun. Fun with words. Yay. Very good. All right, my dears. Well, I think I'm going to leave it at that for today and give you guys a lot of love. We do have a potential upcoming workshop in the House of Free Will on building muscle and building bulk. I always do things very selfishly, like what I want to do is what ends up happening there. But I'm always open to any kind of suggestions if people are looking for solutions and education in certain areas, and it can be with regard to health. I'm always on the lookout for those that I resonate with. Obviously, I want to bring somebody in that I can feel is credible and has something to offer that I'm not going to just like have to argue with or undo in some way, which I don't like doing that with guests by any stretch of the imagination. There is a possibility that we'll end up writing a song with Mr. Alex Michael, although that's going really slow on my part. I end up with these little snippets and they're kind of embarrassing if I show anyone. I think they're great until I show anyone and then they're like that. So yeah, I think that's all. And if anybody is not yet in contact with me and would like to be, you can find me at my website, bethmartins.com, and you can do a King Hero archetype quiz either for the first time or you can do it periodically. If you've already done it, just reach out to me because this link won't work for you. But if you haven't signed up yet and you'd like to find out what your archetype is, where you are now, it's not really who you are. It's more like where you are and what are collection of shadows and different kind of patterns that you find in your life, and also very much the gifts that you might find in a clustered way or in a concentrated way, which means that if you went to work in that area, you would help yourself become more purposeful in that area. And but we are meant to travel all of the areas of the hero's journey. Why? So we could know that map really well in order to get off that map. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. I'm going to play you out with one of my pieces. I haven't updated this yet, but maybe that'll come sometime soon. And watch here. By the way, if anybody's interested, I am until April 30th only going to be hosting a special sign-up time for the Journey Code Coaching Certification Training. There are already people signed up. Some people are signing up as we speak, and only until April 30, there are extra savings. I'm calling it my early bird. It's not published. If you go and you find the page at my website, you won't see it there. You have to hear me say this or see me say that. And Maya wants to hear a new song. Okay, that sounds good. I did write a little mantra. It's not really a song, but it's more of a mantra for the Creator Code people. So maybe I'll get really brave and sing that for you guys sometime real soon. So yeah, I can think along those lines. I might be healed to play a song or two enough, but I have some permanent damage from this left hand fretting hand. And Odyssey is not working. It won't allow me to upload from. I used to upload automatically from my YouTube because I had a setting. They don't have that setting anymore, and they could advertise my channel. They support small content creators. Yeah, it's really hard to upload to those guys. No offense to them, and God bless them and everything like that. But it is very hard to upload. Like BitChute, useless. Odyssey. What was the other one that I used to try to upload to? And it was just such a waste of time. It would go, oh yeah, uploaded. And it's like, no, failed to upload. And you do it 3 times and it doesn't work for some reason. So I don't know what that is. So forgive me. There's no Odyssey. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. And then if you like the podcast channels like Spotify and iTunes and all of those kind of things, then you would be able to hear that after the fact. Usually is about a day or so behind the live. So yeah, we'd have to do it manually. Exactly. All right, my dear. So wish me luck on playing us out here. This is always clunky. Let's see how this goes now. Lots of love. Have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.
closer.